Hello and welcome to QUIZZY Monday. We had two very, very tight matches tonight, didn't we? With Mastermind and University Challenge. And I'm delighted to say that from Mastermind, we've got Will Vince and Paul Risebury-Crisp joining us. To comment on University Challenge, we've got Lewis Jones of the Sheffield University Quiz Society. Also tonight, we've got the fourth episode of Quizzer in a Reasonably Simple Quiz. We've got Quiz Week, as usual, where we'll be revealing not only the news from the world of quiz this week, but also the nominees for Quizzer and Team of the Week. We'll also conclude tonight with Champagne Moment of the Night. So you could tell us in the comments what your best moment of the evening was. But we'll also get that from our panel. And if you want to make comments or ask questions of anybody on the show tonight, you can put them in the comments section and we'll do our best to keep an eye on them and fire them at the people you have before you tonight. So without further ado, we have Paul and Will from Mastermind, and we've got Lewis Jones. I'll bring them on. Good evening, all.
Hello.
Well, Mastermind, bit of a thriller. University Challenge, a little bit scratchier, I would suggest. It was an evening of two very tight matches, though. Paul and Will, commiserations that you bowed out of Mastermind tonight. But what was it like watching it back?
Awful. Same as the first time. But for slightly different reasons. I can't speak for Paul, but no, it was all right. It wasn't so bad.
Yeah. For me, it was I'd forgotten all the questions that I got wrong, and so I managed to get them all wrong again as if it was the first time. But Judy Garland, I will never live that down.
I mean, Paul, I kind of thought that was a shoo-in, but it's but the black chair does funny things to you, doesn't it? That's the thing. And you both did brilliantly to get to the semi-final. Let's say that right off the bat. Appearing in a semi-final is no, it's nothing to be sniffed at. How long did you have between the first round recordings and the semi-final to nail your new subjects?
So my first round was actually the first Clive Myrie episode that they recorded, and it was back in I think June. But they didn't confirm the semi-final subjects up until I think about 4 weeks before we filmed.
Wow. Okay, so really, yeah, you had to kind of pack in that revision. Much the same for you, Will?
Yeah, I had slightly less time than I should have done because I ended up changing my special subject for the second round. So I was originally supposed to be doing William Beveridge, the author of the Beveridge Report, who I didn't know a lot about before going into the revision. It's just somebody I thought I'd be interested to learn more about. And when I started doing the revision and sort of learned more about just how prominent a eugenicist he was, I sort of felt a little bit uncomfortable going on TV looking to endorse that. So I put together a very hastily worded email asking very much if I could change my special subject, please. So then that took a little while to get that agreed, and then eventually, rang off.
So did you feel that affected you? I mean, there was your special subject round was really kind of typified by a lot of thinking. I think it's fair to say. And I comment on Twitter that we could see the mental Rolodex going. It was in there, but you were kind of having to go through it. Did you feel that you suffered from perhaps not having enough time to go over and over and over your notes?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, as I say, I lost a little bit of time at the beginning there because of I changed the special subject, and then it got narrowed down further because originally I was sort of doing Van Gogh more broadly. So the first week or so of my revision was sort of his early life, which then, because they changed it specifically to his works, meant that the first week or so of revision I did for that, after another week of revising for a totally different subject, was also irrelevant. So I kind of lost 2 weeks, which was a bit of a pain. And I also moved house whilst revising for this semi-final. So all in all, I didn't. Yeah, I mean they're excuses, but I didn't have quite as much time as I did for the first round, and I could feel the difference.
Yeah, I mean, it was still a good performance. Don't get us wrong. Both getting into the semi-final and then, strong scores. But you were in a very good heat. When we look at the other competitors, it was, you got 9. I think Paul and Patrick got 11, and Alice got 13. So, in a high caliber field, just having a disadvantage from the off is kind of unfortunate. Paul, Bill and Ted. A little bit of comment on Twitter about doing Bill and Ted. What was your reasoning behind those 3 films? I think it is.
So when they asked me for specialist subjects, I basically gave them things that I love, so that it'd be a pleasurable revision exercise. And I was really surprised when they actually chose Bill and Ted, because you have to give them 5 or 6, and they were like the Bill and Ted films. I was like, "You sure? There's only 3 of them." But they went for it, and yeah, it was it was fun. I mean, I've not killed the Bill and Ted films for me. I can still watch them and enjoy it.
Did you? I mean, it's interesting you say that that it hasn't killed the films for you. Was it Bjork you did the first time round? Is that right? Yeah. Did you feel it killed Bjork for you, or that?
No, but I was really scared it could.
All
like,
right.
if I'd have done really badly, I didn't want to associate Björk with losing memories. So I'm glad I kind of pulled that one back. But yeah. I think that's the risk of choosing things you love.
I think Paul was most excellent. And we also have a comment from, where are we? Pam. Hello, Paul. You're on my heat. Nice to see you again. It was 2nd of July, I think. That's Pam Douglas. One of our regulars is Pam, and was on the show a few weeks ago. Lewis, what did you make of the specialist subjects tonight?
I thought it was a great, interesting mix. I thought, obviously, Will, great subject, a real classic canonical subject. I thought it was great to start the show with that. I think you did so well on that, Will. Particularly, you could really see you pulling some of those answers, which is great to see. I think a lot of times you see people in that chair. We know the stress of the chair. We know those situations, and they lose it. But the fact that you were able to think and get those answers out, I thought was so impressive on your special subject. I thought Paul's was just great fun. We all love those films. Particularly when you have a small subject like 3 films, they will go to some granulosity, and I love that they went for which battleship number was it. And the fact you got that, Paul, I thought was excellent. Then loved that Patrick literally, lived his subject of 90s D&B. Just amazing to see. I mean, as soon as he was sat there and you saw him and he went, doing 90s drum and bass, went, that everything about that fits, which I love to see. And even him, he threw a few lines. And it was like, I was there, didn't he say? Which was just so good to see. And then Alice's one, I knew nothing about. I never heard that. It was Julia and Margaret Cameron. Knew nothing about them, but fascinating to learn some tidbits about it. And Alice was just so strong, impeccable throughout that whole
very fast as well.
So fast, so quick. Just seemed sure of so much. I think, as you said, it was very high scoring across the board. And really interesting range of subjects. It was fascinating to watch.
If I can just pick up on something Lewis said, by the way, just because you might find this quite funny. Talking about Patrick living his specialist subject, I'm fairly sure he was in the room next to me at the hotel, because the entire lead up to that day, I could just hear this really heavy drum and bass. And I thought, because there's a bar opposite where the hotel is in Belfast. And I assumed it was coming from there. And it wasn't until I saw him in the shirt, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, it's Patrick. And then he was in the dressing room next to me just before we went on. And again, the drum and bass. So I'm trying to learn all these French names. And I've just got I started learning the syllables in my head to the tune of the drum and bass in the room.
Oh, dear. I mean, that's... good for him, as you say, Lewis. He clearly loved his subject and lived his subject.
It's a great thing to see. I think also because it's such the complete opposition to Will's subject of a real canonical thing. 100% something we just don't see, but it's such a vibrant subgenre. I've worked at a venue that did had a very big drum and bass night, and people are so passionate about those nights and about the history of that stretches back 20, 30 years. So to see it there and, you know, sort of immortalized by having this series of questions about it is a really great thing to see, I think.
I mean, I like the fact that subjects like that get taken seriously on Mastermind now, and you know, and say, you know, like Bill and Ted, etc., which goes back quite a long time. I can't remember when the first film was. Was it sort of late 80s, Paul?
I think it was 86, 88.
Yeah.
If you'd have asked me this about 6 weeks ago,
you'd have been right on it.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that they're taken seriously and treated with the kind of the same rigor as other subjects. And there was a really good comment in Twitter that said, you know, for a moment I was thinking, oh, drum and bass on Mastermind, but then I thought when Mastermind started in the 1970s, they'd have had 1940s big band music on there, which is the same difference in time. So what's the problem? And I think, yeah, it's fair play. You know, drum and bass is significant. It's stood the test of time in terms of kind of its influence and the music, and there was enough depth of the subject to ask about. So I thought that was good. I'd say the Julia Margaret Cameron knew nothing again about that, and I think that's one of the great joys when you get a subject like that where you know nothing and then actually it turns out to be quite interesting sounding, and you think you want to know a bit more. So yeah, there are quite a few other points that I've got. Will, some of your answers felt long. In the sense of, you know, multiple word answer. Was that something you were conscious of in your questions?
Yeah, again, it's something I wish I'd considered before putting together that hasty email. Yeah, no, I was. I mean, it's interesting because watching it back, I only, and again, you know, it's not. I'm not trying to make any excuses, but I only got 11 questions, which was interesting because it is. But I don't know what you can do about that because that's how long the answers are. Like, you know, I don't think there's a lot you can really do about that. But
you can develop a really deep-seated bitterness, which is how I'm taking it.
Yeah. I'm going for the thinly veiled bitterness, but yeah.
I only got 12 questions, and last week there was the Studio Ghibli guy got 15 questions, and I was like, my God, if I've had 15 questions, everything would have changed.
But, I feel your pain. Been there,
but it's fine. It's fine.
It is something I've noticed throughout the. Sorry, I was just going to say something I've noticed throughout the series. I think Clive very much goes with the tempo of the contestant, though, because I started watching myself back. I started off quite slow because I didn't get my second question, and it kind of sets a slow precedent. Whereas if you're a contestant who starts barking out answers, he sort of speeds up with you. I've noticed that.
Interesting.
Yeah, certainly used to be the case with John Humphreys, and we've I think we tackled it before here, where Gary Grant, who was champion a few years back, he said it was his deliberate policy to be sitting forward in his chair and looking kind of eager and on it, and firing his answers out really, really quickly and sharply, you know, saying them as quickly as he could to try and get John Humphreys into a faster momentum. And I think it's probably natural that you know you can influence a reader like that, and potentially negatively influence us as well if it's a bit slow, that it kind of filters through. I think in terms of the number of questions, obviously all that matters in a semi-final is that everybody's sets are balanced with each other. It doesn't really matter what happens in any other can't even speak now, any other show. But yeah, it is interesting to look at that sort of thing and to see whether actually, you know, talk about bitterness, Paul. I'm still harboring this for what 6-7 years ago. That I was first up in a semi-final, and by the last person, John Humphreys was going like a train, and it cost me 3 questions in a 90-second specialist subject round. And I don't like to go on about it, but that's why I ended up in a tiebreak. Anyway, but yes, it happens, and I know the pain. At halfway, Will, you're sat in last place on 9, decent round, but you know you've seen Alice get 13. Did you have in your head, okay, I've got to really go for this now, or or did it continue, as it seemed to me that you were very much a listening player, not an anticipating player? You were taking the time to hear the whole question and then come up with your answer. Did you have any strategy for that round?
Not really. I mean, all I thought was I need an absolute belter to have any chance whatsoever. But I mean, 4 points is a big deficit to make up, but not necessarily impossible. No, not really. I think I tried to anticipate some of the questions and just didn't. I mean, the one that stood out for me watching it back was the one about Raffles sleeve, because I thought it was going to go in I thought they were going to either. Because when they started talking about things named after something to do with the Crimea, I had in my head, okay, well, I know there's Cardigan, I don't know if that's related, but I know Cardigan was in Crimea, and Balaclava. So I thought it's probably going to be one of those. And so when it didn't go down that route, I just couldn't think, even though I've heard that as a quiz question before, because it wasn't going in the direction I thought. I just couldn't drag it out.
What I liked, and this may just be me, Nadine Dorries, Will.
Twitter would suggest it's not just you, actually.
She's my MP.
Sorry.
Thank you. What was the thought process there that led you to chuckle?
It was an involuntary action. Well, it was either that or spit on the floor, and I thought it probably wouldn't be a very good look. So.
Oh, I wish you'd done that. But yeah, Nadine Dorries. I'll do that. Lovely moment when you just threw out precedent, and then there was a bit of surprise when it was correct. Again, and we saw a couple of times tonight. You see as well the value of throwing out a guess rather than just moving on. At the end of all of this, Will, 18 points. How did you look back on your Mastermind experience from this series?
Well, on the whole, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, it's my first crack at a TV quiz, and I think going into the problem is with stuff like this, you end up shifting the goalposts if you're not careful. So, like going into it, getting to a semi-final, I'd have been absolutely ecstatic with. So, you know, like the day after the semi-final, I was a bit miffed that I didn't do better, but you know, I got over it. And I achieved 2 life goals. Number one, I went on a TV quiz and won an episode, which was nice. And number 2, I got to broadcast the nation my disdain for a serving Conservative minister. So, you know, all in all, that's not bad.
It's pretty good. Life achievement unlocked. Paul, one thing stood out to me in your general knowledge round, because you were only 2 points off. So realistically, you know, with a bit of give and take, you got a better shot at getting towards whatever Alice and Patrick were going to get. But you had a maths question in there, which was, you know, calculating the length of the hypotenuse or something like that. I have to say, I have mixed thoughts about whether that fits in a Mastermind general knowledge round. How did you feel about that?
I mean, the inside scoop is that was actually an extra question because they disallowed one of the questions that was originally asked. It was something about a married couple in the Paralympics, but the answer that they accepted was not actually a correct answer anyway. So after we'd done my set, they then did the Pythagoras question, and I mean, I got it right, so I won't complain. But it's a thinking question rather than a knowing question. It's knowing Pythagoras' theorem rather than knowing a fact or something. So it was like literally. Now I know that 3, 4, 5 is the sequence, and I'll never forget that. But I sat there and worked it out as quickly as I could.
Lewis, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting. You know, I think we've all had situations. I know recently in OQL there was a maths pair a few weeks ago, and people did find that controversial, particularly when you're under a time pressure. It's not not something you can always work out, even if you have the constituent parts. You know how the formulas work. It's not always there. Personally, with that one, I knew it was 5 like that because 3, 4, 5 is what I remember seeing growing up. That was I think it's the lowest version of it basically. But it is there, and if you don't know it straight away, you are going to think about it because it's clearly knowable, it's clearly doable, and you can get the point, but at what cost if it's taking you 10 seconds or so to do it. So yeah, I found it an interesting one, a borderline one for it to be in there at all, but probably on balance. If working out is good, but there's a different when it comes to numbers. It's not quizzing, is it? Really, I don't think. I think generally we don't count it in that way. But it's interesting. Well done for getting it, though, Paul. I mean, that's the good thing. I was really rooting for you when you could see that you were actually working it out. I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, it was one of those things that I learned in school, and my school was a little bit before yours, I think, Louis. I was just proud of myself for working it out.
Yeah, no, it's very good.
It'd be easy enough to turn that into a proper quiz question, though. Like, you could just ask it as a squared plus b squared plus c squared is a theorem for named after which ancient Greek.
Yeah, there's stuff in there that
Pythagoras. So it seems like it seems a weird way for them to have phrased it when you could have done it like that. I don't know.
Yeah, say that I guess the discussion is split between the people who can remember their maths and those like me who can't. Michael McPartland say 3, 4, 5 Pythagoras come out a few times in quizzes, but still a maths question, not general knowledge. If you've heard it before, any other defo not quiz. Yeah, I mean for me, it stood out a little. Paul, you ended up with 20 points. Again, your Mastermind experience, how did you feel about it?
I was really proud with what I did in the end. I mean, my objective was, the whole interview process was like, oh, this is, a long shot. And then when I was on the first program, I just what I really wanted to do was come third. I didn't want to come fourth in my heat, so that then I could say that I didn't do too badly. And then to have actually won it was, just really pleasant. I know that it was it was a low scoring win, it was a low scoring week, but it was still a win, and that counts. And so then to go through to the semis and everything, it was a really enjoyable journey, and it was genuinely the first time I've had to revise anything for like 15 years. So it was a real kind of interesting mental exercise to get back into that revision mindset. And like, I'm a flashcards person, but then I evolved into a spreadsheets person, which I never saw come in, and it's just a whole new way of living.
Have you done any TV before, Paul, or was this your first foray?
I was on 15 to 1 in the year 2000, back when I was only 18. And I was the 8th one left in, so I was bang in the middle, and I was pleased with that when I was 18. And it was obviously not too long before it was cancelled, but it was a very different time. I wore a suit and had dyed black hair, and my glasses were so small and didn't even.
Yeah, your glasses were quite something tonight, has to be said. What a pair of glasses! But yeah, so then I hope we don't have to wait another 21 odd years before we see you on another TV show. Then, Paul, have you got the taste for it now?
I'd really like to go on another program. It'd be great to go on a program where winning gives you something other than just a general sense of superiority. Like The Chase, or I love Lightning, that Zoe Lyons one. Love Lightning. I'd like to go on that. Apart from the one where you got to like get the balls in the holes, that's something. But yeah, I'd like to do more TV quizzing, if they'll have me.
Well, I'm sure they will, and sure they'll have both of you. You've both done yourselves proud to say whatever else happens, you can both say you've won an episode of Mastermind, and you both say you're semi-finalists, and yeah, hold your heads up high. It came down to Patrick and Alice. Both of them clearly had a avoid passing at all costs tactic going on, which is, we would always say is wise. So Patrick at one point said Gothmog rather than pass, which I believe is a Middle Earth reference. And he did Tolkien's Middle Earth in the first round. And Alice on the A Quiet Place question said the scary film, which, it's descriptive. But, both of them were very wise to do that, because if either of them had passed, the other would have won the show without need for a tie break. Now, we got a question here. How would Paul and Will have got on with the tiebreak questions?
2, same as Patrick. I would have got the Baroque question, which I think they both got, and the League of Gentlemen question, which neither of them got.
Okay, just how about you, Paul?
I would have just been the League of Gentlemen question, which I thought as soon as I heard it was a gimme. But not everybody is that way inclined, I suppose. The other 4 absolutely stumped me. Pygmalion, as soon as they said it, I was like, of course it is. But I would have got 1. So even if I'd have had all my extra questions in my specialist round and got into the tiebreak would have killed me.
And the tiebreak is a very stressful thing at the end of what has usually been quite a long day, and then you've gone through the kind of the adrenaline of playing a match, to then have to try and bring your performance up for a tiebreak is quite tough. I speak from experience on that one. How were Alice and Patrick after that?
After the tiebreak itself?
Yeah.
I think there was a sense of being spent. Like it was, we were the last program of the day to be filmed, and it had already been quite a long process. But I think there was just that kind of sense of relief from both of them as well. Like it was, I mean, what they did do was heavily edit Patrick's set of questions, because he in the tiebreak you're not constrained by time, and so he did not let time constrain him, and it was probably like a minute and a half on one of those questions.
Yeah, they actually did hurry him up in the end, I think, on one of them.
Yeah, I think Clive Myrie had a war zone to get to.
Yeah, I remember when I was in, we were told there was no time limit, and so I my first question was in theory a very easy one, but I was knackered, and it was like, who was the second president of the USA? And I just had a brain freeze, and I was trying to work my way to, okay, let's remember presidents who followed other presidents, and I was halfway through thinking, okay, it's not Johnson because he followed Lincoln, when he said, oh, we need an answer. And it's like, oh, shit, Johnson. And I missed the first one and knew I'd missed it, and it kind of flustered me. It's a very, very tricky situation, that one. So, I kind of have my sympathy with Patrick. If somebody says you've got unlimited time, I'm going to use that time until something comes to me. But clearly they wanted to get home at some point that night. So they have to call a halt to it. I'd rather they said you got 30 seconds personally, or something like that. Then at least you know what you're working to. Pam says she got 3 on the tiebreak. Michael, former finalist, says 4 out of 5, missed out on the horse question. I thought that one was quite tricky. Gerard, I got the first 3. I said stifle for the horse bone. And Gerard is also saying, did Dr. Johnson famously get the definition of pastern wrong in his dictionary? I really don't know. That's one. Gerard, look it up and then tell us, please, and update us later in the show. That bombshell. We will be looking forward to that. So we know that Alice is in the final to follow Ian Wang from last week. She's been consistently good. Obviously, I don't know if you know who wins. We don't want to know who wins. We don't want any spoilers, but just having played against her, do you get a sense of how well she'll do in the final?
Well, I don't. Oh, sorry, Paul. Do you want to?
No, go for it, Will.
I was going to say, well, I don't know about Paul, but I actually don't know who wins. So I think I think she's likely to do pretty well. I saw the graphic you posted earlier, actually, Gareth. Did she get 15 in her general knowledge in the
first round? Yeah.
And then I thought she had a really tough set of general knowledge questions in the semi-final. Actually, I thought hers were probably personally, I thought they were the hardest. I think she's got a chance. But also, I'm aware of who else is on this series, and there are lots and lots of very good quizzes.
There are some very good quizzes, yeah.
So yeah, very non-committal answer. Sorry.
If you'd seen that graphic that I put up before you went into that semi-final, Well, would it have kind of made you think, oh God, she's the one to beat? I haven't got a chance. Paul, how would you have thought on that?
I think I would have had my tail between my legs because I was on that graphic. I was the lowest scorer, so I would have probably gone in feeling, a little bit vulnerable. But no, I think Alice has a good chance of winning, and I want her to win. I think. I mean, we bonded together in the makeup chairs because they were filming the celebrities before us, and the celebrities hadn't yet vacated their changing room, so we had to wait in the makeup room for them to get rid of them. So we were chatting for quite a while. She's a lovely woman. Yeah,
and she definitely comes across like that. So, well, okay. I mean, Paul will say, brilliantly well done. Semi-final is not to be sniffed at. Hope we see you, if not in the Mastermind chair, somewhere else on TV very soon. And as you say, Paul, preferably something where you go home with something in your back pocket. But yes, well played all.
The chair opposite Jeremy Clarkson would be quite nice. Not because of Jeremy Clarkson,
but that particular chair, yes. Well, there is a way of getting there now, isn't there? So, because they're doing a fastest finger first special series to win a place in University. God, I can't. Who wants to be a millionaire? Oh, who wants to compete for a place on Mastermind? So there is a route to that. Gerard, Dr. Johnson was asked why he defined a paston as the knee of a horse. He replied, "Ignorance, madam, pure ignorance." There you go. He did get it wrong. Okay, so we are going to take a brief sojourn before we come back to discussing quiz. We have episode 4 of Quizzer in a reasonably simple quiz. This time it is Nathan Pace, one of our viewers and also a Twitter commentator for us. So sit back for 3 minutes-ish and watch Nathan have a go at this quiz. Welcome to Quizzer in a reasonably simple quiz, a quiz in which we give the contestants the answers and then they have to match those answers to the questions as quickly as possible. And today we have as our contestant Nathan Pace. Welcome, Nathan.
Hi, Gareth. Hi, everyone.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Nathan. You know what is in front of you. You know the challenge. You know the rules. Shall we get cracking?
Absolutely, yes.
So, could you pick set A or set B?
I'll pick set A, please.
So your answers, Nathan, are Rose, Train, and Rock. Rose, Train, and Rock. We will start when your first question comes up on the screen. Good luck.
Thank you.
In 1830,
Train.
In Greek mythology, what type of object links the stories of Andromeda? In the 2007 Wes Anderson film, what is the titular Darjeeling Limited?
Rose.
What was the name of the first episode of Repeated? The first song in the musical Come From Away is entitled Welcome to the What?
Train.
What was the first name given to the 2003 revolution in Georgia?
Rose.
What did gladiators do in a ludus that sumo wrestlers do in a heya?
Train.
The capital of the American state of Arkansas is called Little. What is the surname of the central family in the Canadian sitcom Schitt's Creek?
Rose.
What did the monkeys take the last one off to Clarksville? And the Tarpeian used to kill criminals and traitors during the Roman Republic. What word can denote the head of a watering can on the base of a light socket? What word follows Brighton to make the title of a 1938 novel by Graham Greene? What word precedes prick in the name of the perfume? Which San Francisco band had the top 40 hits? And that is it, Nathan. How do you feel you did?
It's easier when you're watching it, I think. I don't think I did all that well. A couple of ones I just had no idea on, I think.
We can now tell you scored 12 out of 15. It's a good effort on a tough set of questions. So well done, Nathan. Now let's have a look at the leaderboard. Even with a 1 second penalty, Nathan was fast. But because he has fewer questions correct, Nathan sits in 4th place. Emma Laslett is still the person to beat. So Nathan, well done on your attempt at Quizzer in a reasonably simple quiz. And thank you so much for playing. We really appreciate you coming on and having a go.
No worries. I really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
So there we are. That was Nathan taking part in Quizzer in a Reasonably Simple Quiz. If you want to take part, we are still looking for a few people to play between now and the end of this series. Just email allthingsquiz@gmail.com. Next week, we've got Morgan playing, who some of you may well know. Great young quizzer taking part. But say we are looking for more people if you want to play, and we'll show one during Quizzy Monday every Monday until the end of this series. So, University Challenge. There was a moment in University Challenge which felt like eternity for me. There was some comments about it on here. Chris Dyson, I made a cup of tea during the flag. I love flag, but it took too long to work out. Lewis, what did you make of tonight's show?
It was interesting. It felt tough. It felt very tough throughout. And did it make it less entertaining? Perhaps. I think, we know it's a hard show. We know it's the hard show in many ways. That's the point. As academic subjects, but still a lot of it felt very difficult. And you don't want to see these people, these students, these quizzes do badly. You want to see them do well. You want to see them really fight for it. So for it to be such a low scoring game was difficult. And yet I love the idea of the flag question. I just don't know if it's the format for it. There's been a few things lately where I love that they're getting, particularly with the pictures and the music, they're getting a little bit more, there's some grander ideas. There's a bit more thematic stuff. We saw that with the music bonuses last week, where there was sort of like two pieces, right, that you had to relate them. I think these are great ideas, but in a time-sensitive contest, I'm not always sure that's the right thing to do. And yet those, I'm not a big flagsman anyway. I know there's some big flag guys out there, the vexologists. It just felt like it slowed everything down. And, clearly they knew their stuff, but particularly under that pressure, that's so much to compute at once. And it felt like it was just on the wrong side of where they should be looking. But still, there were some good answers and good knowledge throughout. It's just, maybe just a little bit too tough. It's supposed to be tough, but just maybe a little bit too tough.
I mean, Emmanuel had now been in two very, very tight matches. I think they lost to Edinburgh by 5 points and then won tonight by 5 points. They will be hoping for a slightly less stressful match, I think, next time round. But Emmanuel are a really good team, and to see them kind of scratching around for answers was quite strange, really. Bearing in mind how good Tharte had been through the rest of the series, and Rathel. It was. At one time it looked like Kings were going to win this to me because they were getting in the buzzers. They just didn't convert the bonuses. Did you feel some of those bonuses were kind of willfully hard?
Perhaps, yeah. There was ones where, I know this is not Quiz Bowl, and I certainly wouldn't call myself an expert on that either. But you kind of normally expect with the bonuses an easy, a medium, a hard-ish, something around those areas. But they all felt very tough. I thought the Mesoamerican cultures, particularly, I think Olmec was the easy one there, and they're the fourth most famous of the Mesoamerican cultures, probably after Aztecs, Incas, and Maya, and they didn't come up. So it felt tough, and again, I said you want to see these people answer stuff. There was a couple of things where they clearly had information, they knew around the subject. I thought the Black British artists, obviously that's a great thing, and I think I'm a big one for canon expansion, make sure we're asking questions about stuff like that. But they didn't seem to be an easy one there. That seemed quite hard. And the second pictures, which I really enjoyed. I got all of them, and I was just guessing. I'm decent at film, and they clearly they had some ideas around it, and there was obviously a moment where the other team had guessed what then later came up, and maybe they should have just said that, and I think that would have actually tied the game. But it's just stuff that was all they passed a lot of those, didn't they, as well? And you never like to see you always like to see a guess on University Challenge. So disappointing to see. I've just seen, in fact, on Twitter, according to UC Stats, that 85 is the record lowest score. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? That's for how long this has been going for an 85 to win. It does seem like this was a bit of a freak episode. It wasn't was a rarity.
It
But,
did.
yeah, I wonder
mind,
where that balancing is.
bearing in mind how when he said how many points had been scored by the teams previously in the competition, I think Kings are 400 and something and Emmanuel 700 and something. You kind of expecting higher, but say they can only play the questions that are in front of them.
Yes, I always think it's interesting with the University Challenge because, particularly, obviously, again, comparing it to Quiz Bowl. In Quiz Bowl, you've got a real distribution. You know these things are coming up on these certain subjects, and it's not the same in University Challenge. It can really lean towards a certain subject, a certain area that doesn't always necessarily benefit the 4 players or the 8 players on both teams that are there to answer them. But tonight just felt like one of those ones where just nothing was going for anyone. Obviously, we expect the competition to get harder as it goes through. We are at the quarterfinal stages. It's going to be difficult, but certainly compared to last week's, I think that both the contestants and just me at home, I was answering correctly. So yeah, hopefully it's a one-off. It's not the way they're going. But yeah, it was an odd week. It's a challenge to come and hear and talk about it, Gareth. When what we're talking about is a lack of answers, really. But certainly interesting, and we know it's a high quality program. We all love watching it. It's why we do this every week. It's why we watch your show every week. But it's good sometimes to see when they do get it maybe slightly wrong. It's not like it was way wrong. It was just a little bit too hard. And hopefully that's something we'll see corrected in future series.
Gerard, he loves a pun. I know old MacDonald had a farm.
Should be disgusting.
Paul's shaking his head. Paul and Will, obviously University Challenge is a different beast to Mastermind, but when you're watching it tonight, what was your kind of sense of the match, and your kind of how do you relate to something like University Challenge?
I normally love it. I love watching it. I wouldn't say I do particularly well, but yeah, it felt hard today. I originally thought that might have been because I had a beer whilst watching Mastermind, as usual. But actually, I think the flag, that flag set of questions epitomised it for me, because I actually do normally like flag questions. It's usually stuff where I would pick up points, and I just there were so many steps to it. It was just too hard. But no, there was a bit of the episode I missed, actually. I missed the last sort of 10 minutes, but certainly the first 20 seemed harder than usual. Yeah, I think quite a few people. I think if you'd never watched an episode of University Challenge before and you tuned into that one, as a few people I know who probably watched me on Mastermind tonight will have done, will never watch it again, because that just wouldn't be very accessible, I think.
Yeah.
No, not that it's normally like tipping point level of accessibility, but.
Yeah, it's not tipping point. Paul, how about you?
Normally, I would get maybe 3 or 4 starters and then a couple of the bonus round ending. But tonight, I think I only got 1 of the bonus questions, which was the Atlas, alas. Like, other than that, it was a really tough night.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily a reflection on the teams. I think. There were a few things that probably went begging. That the Galvani one perhaps should you would have thought one of 8 players would have known Galvani, but that aside, I mean Paxman. We did have a comment here from Chris. Didn't like Paxo saying pathetic for not getting Friday night, Saturday morning, even if he was being sarcastic. I think he said pathetic for not even guessing, didn't he? I think.
Yeah, I think that was it. It was the lack of guess, but still,
it's a strong reaction.
Yeah,
yes, it's a bit but that kind of made Rashid go for I think the next one, frankly embarrassing, which was I guess it's kind of a awareness of you are on camera while this is all happening, which I guess. You become acutely aware of it when you're struggling and there's silence on screen. That must be tricky. But Lewis, you identified something which was critical, which was them not guessing. This is Kings guessing. Look back in anger.
Look back in anger. Yeah.
Which as it had been mentioned previously, would have
Yeah.
given them 5 points and would have taken them into a tie. And conversely, we saw Malcolm for Emmanuel guess Albuquerque, which, you know, and again, the value of a guess. There'd been quite a pause, an incorrect guess on the other side, and she threw it out there, and it happened to be right. And she didn't even need a clue from the King of Rock and Roll by Prefab Sprout. You know, no hot dogs or jumping frogs to get to that answer. But yeah, always the kind of benefit of putting out a guess. Any questions anybody particularly loved on tonight's show? And admitting that it was hard. Anything that particularly you learned?
I like the first question. I always I really pay attention to that first starter question because it does seem to be, it's normally something quite cross subject, which I always like. I think that's one of the real joys of University Challenge, that you can have those questions that are difficult and you're going to be seeing a lot of different stuff. But to go from, you know, it was like Finnish architectural design, wasn't it? And city where Holy Roman Empire had its emperor's thing, was it popes or whatever it was? But I love that, and I was quite quick on that, and I was pleased with that. Pleased with that one. I was like, oh, double A. So I really liked that one. I also thought the buzz from Beard, I think the second question was like Shenzhen, and he came in quite early with that, was very impressive. But again, yeah, it's one of those ones where it just because they weren't enjoying it and they weren't answering, it does make it hard to really come up with those moments. The one with the add the T, the Atlas Alas, that seemed fun. I always like those where it's an add a letter. The University Challenge does those quite well as bonuses, I think. And you know, Kings enjoyed those, and I think all three of them, didn't they? Or at least two of them. They were close with oology, otology. But yeah, it was again just there was some great concepts in there. It just maybe didn't fall in the right way to make it work.
Yeah. Further clues for Albuquerque: Breaking Bad or Bugs Bunny. Take a left at Albuquerque. I seem to remember from Bugs Bunny. Yeah. So, as you say, it's kind of a hard episode to really kind of digest. There were some good buzzes. I love Malcolm's pernicious anemia, because
great answer.
It seemed kind of well out there at the time to me. Thate almost riffing off the opposition when he did Seven Deadly Sins, and they'd say virtues, I think, and he kind of flipped it. You know, that there was some good pouncing that went on, but it was a tough match. So Emmanuel are now in the semi-final, which does have the bonus that we've now got half a chance of getting Bobby Seagull onto a future episode of QUIZZY Monday, because he said he will come on as long as it doesn't clash with the real Dirty Dancing. So fingers crossed with the schedulers there that we can get him. So a few comments here. Catherine said, struggled on UC, just 50 points for me. What else have we got? The PN Junction answer not given was harsh. That was the wrong way round, wasn't it? NP rather than PN. Yeah, I have no knowledge on that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to pop Paul, Lewis, and Will back into the waiting area. When we come back, I'm going to ask each of you what your champagne moment of the evening was. For me, it's seeing Paul's cat's tail appearing on screen. There's always a place for a cat in this live show. But we'll pop you back in a few minutes. I'll bring you back on, and we'll talk about these champagne moments. So,
thank you.
So here we are, and Quiz Week. So let's start with some updates from All Things Quiz. And the winners of the vote for Quizzer of the Week was Dylan Minerick, who got a perfect 15 out of 15 in a Mimir. Second was Frankie Fanco for her win in Counterpoint. And third was Dave McBride, who I think he got the only full house of OQL that week. Team of the week, unsurprisingly perhaps, was Astatine Hunger Force, who won the Quizzing World Cup against Australia Gold. Second was Mangoes from OQL. Third was Victoria Phoenix for their giant killing, some would say, in QLL Division 2. And you can nominate a player or a team for Quiz of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. Nominations close at 5 o'clock next Monday for anything that's happened from basically now until then. The winner of What is the Question, where the answer was smoke, was Tony Bennett, not that one, who said, Queen Elizabeth I once made a bet with Sir Walter Raleigh that he couldn't calculate the weight of what? She lost the bet. So well done, Tony. On Sunday, we released a new answer in need of a question. It was rain, and you can now vote at tinyurl.com/WITQ-rain for on the long list of answers to go into the shortlist later this week. And don't forget, we will put a new answer in need of a question out on Sunday morning. You saw it earlier. Quizzer in a reasonably simple quiz. We still need probably another 3 people to film this. So if you want to have a go at it, there's no prize. It's just for shits and giggles. So put yourself forward by emailing allthingsquiz@gmail.com. And just another plug. We're getting a little bit through the semi-finals now in Mastermind, but we did do a semi-finals preview video. So have a look at that if you want to see how other players that we have yet to see got on in the first round. And don't forget, we are really tantalizingly close now to getting 1,000 subscribers, which will make me very happy. So if you like what we do and you like watching our videos and you haven't already subscribed, it costs you nothing. Click the subscribe button. And who knows, maybe by this time next week, we will be there. So, yeah, and help spread the word. Tell other people about us. Like our videos. That will help the YouTube algorithm tell other people about the stuff that we do that they may well like. Now, moving on to the news from the world in quiz. This week, there was a Quiz Grand Prix, and Pat Gibson came out on top with Kevin Ashman second and Didier Bruyere third. Pat, of course, gets a nomination for Quizzer of the Week. And there were genre wins for Kevin Ashman, Ian Bailey, Gary Morwood, Didier Bruyere, Pat Gibson, and Dave Bill. In the online quiz league, Liam McCarthy and Richard Appleyard picked up 2 full houses in OQL this week, and both picked up the 2 full houses in OQL this week, and both get nominations. Match of the week was the mouth-watering game between Lovecraft and the Time of Cholera and Quiz Machine Kills Fascists. It was a high-scoring match, as you'd expect, and it was Quiz Machine Kills Fascists who came out on top with 55 points and 11-point margin of victory, and they get a nomination. In OQL USA, there were no full houses, but Scott Blish carried on his fine form with 7 2s, and Victoria Gross can't stay out of the headlines, and she also got 7 2s. The top 2 teams in Division 1 both get nominations this week for different reasons. Wednesday Academic Purists won a tight match against Nacho Love to stay top, while in second place, Neutral Milf Hotel showed they were on top form, scoring 61 points against Minority Report. So Wednesday Academic Purists and Neutral Milf Hotel both get nominations. In the Pop Culture Challenge, Bob DeCoe and Matt Williams put in the leading performances this week with 14 out of 15 on their own questions, and they get nominations. In the American equivalent, Pop Solos, it was a tough week, as shown by the fact that Emily Hogg top scored on her own questions with 12 out of 15, a nomination for her. In the Quiz League of London, no full houses this week, but 7 2s for Dow Jackson, Mark Eves, Marianne Fairthorne, and Andrew Fanco. They get nominations. And aside from the top 2 winning, story in Division 1 this week was Broken Hearts dealing major and possibly fatal blow to Pericardium's hopes of a debut league title. For that, they get a nomination. And the showdown between Grey Monks and All Sorts on the 15th could decide the title. And in week 4 of Mimir as well, the top performances in matches without a forfeit were from the already nominated Scott Blish and Christian Gvampso. In the Connections Online Quiz League, Strong Fauna picked up a nomination this week for their 36-20 win over Trigger's Broom. And at the weekend, it was Quiz Bowl's British Student Quiz Championships held at Imperial College, and marking a return to in-person Quiz Bowl after 2 years of online competitions. Congratulations to Cambridge A, that's Michael Cohn, Liam Hughes, Harrison Whitaker, Daniel Cropper and Tony Ford, who defeated Edinburgh A of Ben Russell-Jones, Nicholas Winter, Niall Karuna Ratney and Holly Parkinson by a score of 342-235 in the first game of an advantage final to take home the trophy. So Cambridge A get a nomination. Third place was tied, and it was Oxford B, Oxford A and Imperial A who tied for third. Top 4 individual scorers ranked on their prelim performances were Andrew Fisher, Oliver Clark, Michael Cohn and Daniel Lawson. Andrew Fisher gets a nomination. We saw Mastermind Alice Walker win earlier, and we saw Emmanuel College win University Challenge. And that is it for the roundup. And we will just now run you through the nominees for Quizzer of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week. So Quizzer of the Week, Richard Appleyard, Scott Blish, Bob DeCoe, Marquise, Marion Fairthorne, Andrew Fanco, Andrew Fisher, Pat Gibson, Victoria Gross, Emily Hogg, Dowd Jackson, Christian Cavanzo, Liam McCarthy and Matt Williams. And for Team of the Week, Broken Hearts, Cambridge University A, Neutral Milf Hotel, Quiz Machine Kills Fascists, Strong Fauna, and the Wednesday Academic Purists. You can vote at tinyurl.com/QW07MAR, M-A-R, isn't it? So the code there is slightly wrong. It's tinyurl.com. Oh, is it? Okay, sorry. tinyurl.com/QW7MARA. So that is the code. We will put the links for both votes in the comments after this show. And I think that is it. So what a week it's been. And to finish off tonight's show, I will welcome back Paul, Will, and Lewis, who are all miraculously in the same place. I must have somehow cracked this. Guys, what was your champagne moment of the night? Now, hang on. We've got a few comments in here. I was wondering. I know Whipple best for naming the G-spot, so I wondered where that question was going. Whipple of the pernicious anemia question. The G-spot was almost named the Whipple Tickle, but I decided to name it after a gynecologist called Grauffenberg. So yeah, lots of Whipple love going on in the chat. Hang on. I just checked. George Whipple was the anemia guy. Beverly Whipple wrote about the other. Who knew there were two people called Whipple? That's a Quiz League pair just waiting to be asked. So anyway, Will, what was your champagne moment of the night?
Nadine Dorries for me.
Yeah, enough said. Yeah. Paul, how about you?
I think on reflection, it was Nadine Dorries. It was just a spark that I think everybody enjoyed.
Yeah.
No one likes her. It was a moment of national unity. It was great.
Much needed right now, I think, Paul. I think terrible times, and yeah, we can all fall in behind Will on that one. Lewis, how about you?
I mean, I can't say anything else, can I? It was clearly the moment that I also throw it. I was just really happy for Alice to get the win. I was put on a team with her at the MQL Buzzer Quiz the autumn just gone. Never met before. She was delightful all day. So, these guys, both brilliant, but I'm extremely glad for her win. She's a delightful person.
Yeah. Chris Dyson, it's been said already, but Nadine. Yeah, that would have to be my option as well, because, I mean, she went off to the jungle while she was meant to be representing me in Parliament. So, yeah.
Did things improve while she was gone?
Yeah, it's what they call the golden age of Mid Bedfordshire. All was well with the world for a brief 3-week period, and then she came back. Catherine says, I was thinking, how dare this woman be an answer on a quiz of this pedigree. And Gerard says, special mention for I was there. That was a nice moment as well.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, sadly, it's almost worth making a GIF of your reaction, Will, so that I can share it on her Twitter, where I
surely that's happened somewhere. It must have missed by now. It's been an hour.
Definitely.
I'm sure it has. So that was the week that was. That was Wicked Quizzing. We have revealed all the nominees for Quiz for Wicked Quiz Team of the Week. Don't forget to vote for that. Don't forget to vote in What is the Question. We will be back next week for Reading versus somebody else. I can't remember, in University Challenge. But at least I'm that prepared that I remembered one of them. And we have from Mastermind semi-final Eleanor Ayres. So we will be back next week as usual, covering the night's quizzing. Thank you to everybody who has commented and chatted in the chat with one another. Thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. We can't do it without you. Definitely can't do it without our guests. Paul, Will, and Lewis, really appreciate you coming on and entertaining us for the last hour. And Pam says, thanks everyone. Polly sends love to Lewis. There you go. You get special.
Thanks. Hi, Polly. I love Polly.
And,
love Polly the parrot.
And Catherine says, I have a Dorrie's allergy. Yes, you and me both. Thanks, everyone, says Chris. So on that bombshell, we will be back next week. We thank everybody for watching, but have a great week. And enjoy your quizzing if you're quizzing. Enjoy your TV viewing if you're watching quizzes on TV. And come back next week when we will have a good chat about what happens on the next Quizzy Monday. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.